Hello, my name is Sherry Lamoureux and I'm the Vice President of Human Resources. Today I'd like to introduce to you our new Pay for Performance program. I'll first start by providing an overview of our total rewards and what that means to our organization, and then I'll talk specifically about our new Pay for Performance program, specifically that came out of our employee engagement survey. So let's talk about total rewards. As the region's leading healthcare system and largest employer, UHS provides competitive total rewards. Now, what is total rewards? It really is a tool that we use to attract, motivate, retain, and engage employees. And there are two components to total rewards that we focus on. One is non-monetary, which focuses on professional development, flexible scheduling, wellness programs, recognition, performance feedback, really any intangible part of why an employee is attracted or is engaged and motivated to stay with UHS. The second component is monetary, and that typically is the traditional compensation and benefits part of total rewards. So all told, total rewards is really a major component of becoming an employer of choice, and that's something that as UHS is looking to strive to be over time. Just as Wegmans has been designated an employer of choice, the best place to work, UHS is looking for that same designation at some point in the future. Total rewards is a component of being an employer of choice. And just like other large employers such as Wegmans has been designated and recognized as being an employer of choice or a best place to work, UHS would like to achieve this designation at some point in the future as well. Let's turn and talk about our new Pay for Performance program. This program originated through the employee engagement survey that you all responded to earlier in the year. In fact, it was the most common response that we received from employees that they wanted to be recognized for their performance. As you recall, earlier in the year, 88% of you felt that UHS is a great place to work as well as a great place to receive care. There were 5 areas that also resulted in areas that we could improve our performance. And they are really relating to accountability, fairness and consistency, rewards and recognition, availability and approachability of leaders, and communication. So this new program, we're looking to close the gap as it relates to, in particular, rewards and recognition, and also relating to fairness and consistency. So we listened, we heard your feedback, and we're looking to implement this new program as a result of hearing from you. Interestingly enough, between 80 to 95% of organizations already have a Pay for Performance program. In fact, within UHS, CMH and DVH currently have a Pay for Performance program as it relates to their base pay. And they've been doing this for a number of years. So we're looking to implement a similar program at UHS, but focusing mainly on lump sums for the first year. So what is Pay for Performance? We wanted to make sure we provided you a definition of what exactly this means. Pay for Performance is the process of differentiating employees based upon their performance as generally measured by their performance assessment. Now we recognize that we're doing this later in the year, implementing this later in the year after a performance assessment has already been given to an employee. So in relating to implementing this new program, we're going to be looking at not only people's performance assessments, but also some additional guidelines that each of the divisions will be developing as well. The goal of Pay for Performance is to have meaningful pay differentials between groups of performers over time. So what should happen is if this is included in people's base pay over time, those higher performance eventually should be moving up further along the continuum of the range, the pay range over time. Pay for Performance can be delivered either through base pay or a lump sum or both. And as we're starting to implement this at UHS, we're focusing on lump sum for this year. So what are our guiding principles? I'll just tick through these relatively quickly, but I want to focus on one of them in particular, as I really feel that this is important. One of our guiding principles is to encourage a performance-based culture and motivate employees to perform at higher levels by linking Pay for Performance. Pretty straightforward. The second is to improve employee recruitment, retention, and motivation. And the third, I think, is very, very important, is to balance team and individual contributions. One of the risks of putting in place a Pay for Performance structure is that people start focusing on the individual contributions and not thinking about things holistically and how what they do impact the team or the UHS organization at large. So you will see by the guidelines that we'll be implementing for this new program Having a team component as well as a UHS component and how we contribute to the overall mission is a real critical piece to this overall program and one of the key components to our guiding principles. Another guiding principle is to improve the equity of pay practices by providing more compensation to the highest performers, providing guidelines to ensure as fair a process as possible. It's important to realize that the process will be fair. The differences, but people are going to see differences in pay. So not everybody's going to be receiving the same pay, and it's going to be different by division. So it's important that the process that we will be implementing will be similar, but it will be people receiving different increases based on the specific division and the criteria they're using. And the last bullet here is to allocate limited budgets to higher performing employees. We obviously have limited dollars that are in this program, and so we want to reflect and to provide that to the highest performing employees. Generally, we anticipate between 15 to 20% of employees will be receiving awards. So what does this process look like? Well, right now, we're going through employees are receiving their normal base pay increases. So these awards are above and beyond the normal base pay increases that our employees are receiving today. In addition, as I mentioned, we've budgeted a pay for performance budget for this particular program. We're allocating a pool of dollars for each division to receive those awards. We generally anticipate that awards will range between $500 to $3,000. It may be more, it may be less, depending on that particular division, but that's generally where we anticipate seeing the awards. Each division will determine the award recipients, and that's really important. So it really is going to be, while there'll be guidelines and criteria that will span across the entire organization, for example, certain hire date, there will be specific criteria that are being established by each division to reward and award individuals for their performance. So guidelines will be given to these divisions, as I mentioned, those specific criteria that each is going to apply across the organization, and they will customize those then for their specific division. So that will be taking place. And then lastly, once those criteria and the awards are established, Human Resources will be reviewing them from a legal perspective, applicability to laws, and also applicability to the guidelines that's been established by each of those divisions. So that's a general process that we're looking to move through as we establish this program over the next couple months. So let's talk a little about the pay for performance guidelines that we're going to be establishing across the organization. So let's first talk about the performance assessment results. As I mentioned before, we anticipate generally 15 to 20% of employees receiving these performance awards. And generally, you would see a one-to-one relationship between those receiving an outstanding performance assessment and those receiving a performance award. Recognizing that we're introducing this late in the year, we're also expanding it beyond the performance assessment of receiving an outstanding award to those employees that in some cases could have received a successful rating, but also are also showing other behavioral characteristics that are important to the organization as well. Another guideline that might be considered for a specific organization might be those employees that are recognized leaders in quality metric outcomes. Other demonstrated behaviors are really important. So not just what you achieve, those results that somebody achieves, but also how they achieve them is important too. So thinking about specific behaviors such as providing excellent patient experience every time. Looking at those individuals that foster a very positive workplace, including being respectful and working well with their coworkers and leadership and contributing to team and UHS goals. So this starts to get at to that what I was mentioning previously, focusing on the UHS mission and how we all can contribute to the mission, as well as how we contribute to the team. These behaviors are really important to that particular guiding principle. The third bullet is looking at general attendance and attentiveness and contributions to team meetings. And lastly, looking at upholding UHS's core values, such as those values focusing on caring, service, partnership, learning, integrity, respect, and stewardship. So all told, these are just some examples of behaviors that we think it's important for employees to be exhibiting when we're looking to award performance bonuses. Additional guidelines include, for those eligible employees, they need to be hired before 1/1/2018. We're looking for those employees that will not have any constructive disciplinary actions over the past 3 years, 2016, 17 or 18, or actively working on a performance improvement plan. They will not be eligible for this program. Employees also, in order to be eligible, will need to be scheduled at least 24 hours per week. And we're also looking for employees to make sure that their 2017 performance assessment is completed, 2018 objectives or goals are completed, as well as all net learning is completed by the end of the year. As I mentioned before, our budget consideration is we're looking to focus on the top 15 to 20% of our organization, and we anticipate that generally will be about 600 to 850 employees, generally speaking. Let's move to the process next steps. Back in November, we communicated to leadership guidelines around the new Pay for Performance program. Through December 10th, those guidelines were distributed, as well as we requested of leadership to complete the 2017 performance assessments, 2018 goals, and net learning as well. Through January 31st, we're asking each of the divisions to complete identifying the specific criteria for their divisions, as well as identifying who will be receiving an award and the amount of the award. From that time period, Human Resources will be reviewing the nominations from a legal and compliance perspective through February 22nd. From there, employees will be then communicated of those receiving the awards by March 6th, and then awards will be in employees' paychecks as of March 21st. So, in addition to us introducing this new Pay for Performance program, we are also in the process of streamlining our performance management process in general and what you see in Performance Manager. And we introduced a survey a couple weeks ago. We actually right now are analyzing the results of that survey and are looking to introduce streamlining the 2018 assessments as well as the 2019 performance objective setting as well. So after the training that we anticipate the leaders going through in January to make them feel more comfortable at having performance rewards communications discussions for the Pay for Performance program, we're also going to be doing additional follow-up training on the new changes with the performance management process in the February-March time period for leaders. What we're also looking to do is to develop a glide path to integrate Pay for Performance across UHS. As I mentioned previous, DVH and CMH both have Pay for Performance programs, and we're looking to integrate that with UHS's program as well to have a similar program across UHS at some point in the future. So, key takeaways, key messages from this video is we've listened. We've heard what employees have said about wanting to be recognized for the performance of what they deliver on a regular basis. So we heard you from the Employee Engagement Program and are introducing this new Pay for Performance program at UHSH. We've allocated funds for the Pay for Performance awards. We're looking for these to be administered in as fair and consistent process as possible, and that's important, as you all told us through the Employee Engagement Survey, that fairness and consistency was one of the areas we needed to improve. But just to point out here is that we do expect variation for the employee awards and payouts between divisions, and then also obviously given the work that's being performed. So there is going to be differences in what people are receiving in those payouts. And then, as I mentioned before, we're looking for further consideration for integrating the Pay for Performance program as we move forward over the next few years. Thanks very much for listening. If you have additional questions, information is posted on the Total Rewards website, as well as you can contact Human Resources. Thank you.